Welcome back everyone. You join me in beautiful Scotland for a bit of a different video today. If you've clicked on this video, you're probably pretty similar to me. Someone who loves getting outdoors, making the most of this, and escaping everyday life in search of adventure. It's already pretty difficult to plan these sorts of adventures, and even more difficult to know what to take with you. So today I'm going to tell you exactly what I take when I'm out in the wilderness, so you too can get out and enjoy this. Wow, just look at that. That's a beautiful view. Just one of those bluebird days. Before I get started, I just wanted to say that I've only been camping for around a year now. So there may be some things that I don't take with me that you take with you when you go camping. And there may also be some things that I take that you maybe haven't thought of. So if you have any suggestions, make sure to leave them in the comments, and that way other people can see what you take with you. And there may be some people that are new to this that appreciate some advice from experienced campers. Right, I'm going to take everything out of my bag, and that way it's easier to see exactly what I've got, how much stuff I've got, and it'll be easier for me to go through it. So that is literally everything that I take with me when I go camping. All fits into one frame, which is pretty mad. And I weighed it, and it is about 8.5 kilos. That is minus food and water, so probably take it up to about 12 kilos-ish, maybe a bit less. But not too bad. I think I'll start with the backpack. So this is the Osprey Exos 48. And it weighs about 1.3 kilos. It is super light and is about 51 litres, which is decent. There's a big space on the inside, and then just like a bunch of pockets like here, and then down the side for water bottles. And it's about 200 quid, so it's fairly expensive. And the rain cover you have to buy separately is £40, which is pretty small, but quite expensive, but I'd say worth it. It's really good quality. I'd say one of the best things about this backpack is how light it is. At 1.3 kilos you hardly feel the weight, and I'm still yet to use it in any long distance adventures, but I've used it in a couple overnight ones, and it fits everything I need, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Next up we have the tent, and this is the Helm, what is it? The Wild Country by Terra Nova Helm Compact 1. And yeah, a bit of a mouthful, that's why I couldn't remember it, but it's genuinely a great tent. This has served me really well. It weighs just under 2 kilos, so it's fairly heavy, but coming in at £200, it's, you know, fairly budget compared to a lot of the other tents I've seen. And I've used this in some pretty dodgy weather, and it's served me really well. I'm a big fan of this tent. Next we have sleeping bag, and this is the Rab Ascent 900 sleeping bag. And this is the first fairly expensive thing I bought. I think it's about £300, which is expensive, but I think a sleeping bag is pretty important. And it has a temperature degree rating of minus 18 degrees, which, that's Celsius. I can definitely believe that, because I used it in the Scottish Highlands at minus 12 degrees Celsius, and it kept me toasty warm. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. And then sleeping pad, which is also pretty important. And this is the Mountain Equipment Helium 3.8. This is actually pretty cheap. I think it's about £50. But it's a self-inflating mat, and the self-inflating doesn't really work anymore. But apart from that, it's served me well. I can't really fault it. And then lastly, to complete the sleep system, we've got the Aeros Ultralight from Sea to Summit. And look how small this is, you know, it fits in my hands perfectly. It's so light as well. I don't know what it weighs, but it can't be a lot, and it's a bit of a luxury, to be honest, but I think it just completes the sleep system pretty perfectly. So that is all the sleeping stuff. Next we've got what clothes I take. So this is a Bergos down jacket, and I'm not sure what version it is, but I'll find out and leave it in the description. But it's so light and it packs down super small, which means you can sort of squeeze it in your rucksack. And this is definitely needed in Scotland because it's pretty cold quite often. This is a Rab sun hoodie, which you'll find me wearing quite often. I don't know why, because it's rarely ever sunny, but it's just quite comfortable and it's fairly light as well. Then I've got a Bergos fleece. This is a Bergos Gore-Tex jacket, and I think these trousers are actually made by Bergos as well. I'm not sure the versions of these, but I will find out and leave them in the comments. But they all seem to work pretty well. I'm happy with all of them. And I always take spare socks with me. And this is actually one of my favourite things I've ever bought. These are Danish Endurance socks, and they're genuinely unreal. Like most socks I've had before, they seem to rip after a couple uses, but these do not rip. Like, you can do anything to these and they won't rip. Yeah, I'm a real big fan of these, to be honest. I've bought like loads of pairs of these, and they're pretty expensive, but they're definitely worth it. Next up is boots, or in my case, trail runners. I decided to change to trail runners recently instead of boots. I just wanted to try something different, and I've heard you get less blisters in trail runners, and they're just more comfortable as well. These are the Nike Pegasus Trail 4, and not only do they look pretty good, but they're pretty comfortable. Definitely more comfortable than boots. You do get a Gore-Tex version as well, which will be more waterproof, but I got a good deal on these, so I think I'll try them out, and then I'll maybe get the Gore-Tex ones if I decide they're better than boots. It is completely your choice whether you go for trail runners or boots. I'd say if you're doing sort of more through hiking, long distance hiking, then trail runners might be better for you. If you're doing sort of Munros, mountains, scrambly things, then boots might be better for you so you don't twist your ankle. But I'm just going to use both of them, to be honest, depending on what I'm doing. Next I'll go through just sort of random things that aren't essential but they're pretty good to have. So a Jetboil stove. I take this pretty much every time unless I know that I'm doing something that's particularly scrambly and I don't want to carry extra weight. But this is like a hot meal at the end of the day is exactly what you need. So a Jetboil stove, and you get sort of gas canisters that actually last so long. I can't believe how long these last, and they're fairly light. And yeah, like I said, a hot meal can just make the world of difference, especially if you're freezing cold like it normally is in Scotland. I think this Jetboil stove was about £80, so you could say that's expensive, but you're never going to have to buy another one of these, which is probably the best thing about it. Like, it should last you a lifetime. I've been using it since I started and it's still as good as new. So I'll move on to just sort of like random things. So a head torch. This is a Bluecar head torch, and it works pretty well, and it's got sort of like multiple modes, which is pretty good. You can't even see that because it's not dark, but that is red, which is pretty decent, and it flashes. I then take a power bank every time just to keep my phone charged. I'm not even sure who makes this, but I'll find out and leave it in the comments. Tissues, you might always need them. First aid kit, definitely take that with you as well. You might need it, never know when you might need it. Deodorant, just so I don't smell too bad. Definitely need this if you're in Scotland. This is for mosquitoes, ticks and just insects, and you get a lot of ticks if you're in the Scottish Highlands, so definitely take that with you. That is Jungle Formula. Then you're not going to need this in Scotland, but this is just sun cream. Then toothbrush, toothpaste, just keep it in a wee bag so it's sort of separate, a little bit cleaner, although I definitely need to change that. That is pretty horrible in there. And then water filter. So I used to use the Sawyer Squeeze water filter, which I took away the packaging just so it's a little bit smaller and then used an elastic band just to save weight, but it recently broke on me, which I was pretty disappointed. I think it's like £50, so it's pretty expensive. So it worked for 8 or 9 months and then it stopped working on me. So I decided to buy a Katadyn B-Free water filter. I think this is the 600ml version, yeah. So I'm yet to use this, but I'm excited to use it. And it's a little bit better than that because it comes in sort of already like a water carrying pouch. Saves space a little bit. Then a midge net you always need. I've got a Swiss Army knife and I keep tweezers in there as well for getting rid of ticks. And I think that is literally it. That is everything I take with me when I'm camping. Doesn't look like much, but it all adds up. So the last main thing that I take with me when I go camping is a camera, and that is to film these adventures and share them with you. This may surprise some people, but I film everything on an iPhone 15. I found that the camera quality is just as good as a GoPro, and if I don't have to carry a GoPro, then it just saves a little bit of weight and saves a little bit of space in my pack. So that is everything I take with me. Doesn't look like a lot, but it all fits into this backpack and it gets me out and exploring amazing places like this. If you have any suggestions or bits of kit that you like, then make sure you leave them in the comments so that I and other people can see what gear you take with you when you go camping. But the last thing I wanted to say was, it's not really about the gear for me. When I first started off camping, I didn't have any of the expensive stuff, and just getting out in nature whilst I still can is what I think it's all about. So if you're new to this sort of thing and you don't have any of the expensive stuff, don't worry about spending thousands and thousands. Just get out there, make sure you do your research and find the essentials. But apart from that, the hardest part is always just getting out there and enjoying nature. And I mean, it's beautiful, especially if you live in Scotland. But that's going to be it from me. I hope you found this video informative, and I'll see you guys next time.